is Big Ten football in one picture. A cold and snowy Saturday afternoon in Minneapolis for the most played rivalry in college football history. The 135th all-time meeting and 77th time they've played for Paul Bunyan's Axe. It's Wisconsin and Minnesota on the Gophers Senior Day. Hello, everyone. We welcome you to Minneapolis with Minnesota royalty, Robert Smith. I am merely Noah Reed. This is the 119th straight year that Minnesota and Wisconsin have played. It's the battle for Paul Bunyan's Axe. And oh yeah, it's 25 degrees and snowy out there. It's not pretty, but this is when Big Ten football is at its best.
Oh, it's so great, the snowflakes coming into the booth. But I'm not saying this because we're calling the game, but this is my favorite trophy in all of college football. I mean, Paul Bunyan's Axe, are you kidding me? A trophy that you can get arrested for carrying around an airport doesn't get any better than that.
Well, we'll try to avoid that today. Hey, how about for Wisconsin? It's been a little bit of a quarterback carousel for them. Carter Smith began the year as the fourth stringer, and he was on the scout team up until he made his debut a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, really amazing. Came in against Washington, hadn't thrown the ball a whole lot, hasn't had more than 9 completions in any game. And in these kind of conditions, I don't expect them to really try and force him to throw the football. He is a dual threat quarterback, but he's from Fort Myers, Florida. A little bit different weather down there this time of year.
Well, if the elements out there are not enough for a tough day on a freshman quarterback, how about this Minnesota defense that he's got to deal with, because they've made a living in the backfield?
Yeah, they certainly have. And people criticize some of the sack numbers because most of the sacks came in 3 games, but they only have 1 game this season, one against Purdue, where they didn't have 5 tackles for loss. And you look along that defensive line, playmakers all over the place, but none better and bigger than Anthony Smith. 10.5 sacks on the season. This guy is intense, and he is big. Physical, great first step.
25 degrees and snowy. We had guys warming up without shirts today. That's what this rivalry will do to you.
Put your shirt on.
The battle for Paul Bunyan's Axe is coming up next on FS1 between Wisconsin and Minnesota. Robert, do you remember last week when it was 40 degrees at Iowa State and you said you wish it was colder? You got your wish.
I certainly did. I love it, man. I love being up here. If I'm in Minnesota and it's not cold, I'm a little disappointed, at least in the winter.
PJ Fleck in 9th season as the Minnesota head coach. He's looking for his 7th win, which would be the 6th time they've done that since he's been here. Luke Fickell in year number 3 as the head man of the Badgers after a great tenure at Cincinnati, where he took the Bearcats to the then 4-team college playoff.
Yeah, and Luke's really done a great job kind of getting this team stabilized at the end of the season. And of course, I don't know if you knew this, it was a couple years before you were born, but Luke Fickell got to Ohio State my last year that I played for Ohio State in 1992.
The battle for Paul Bunyan's Axe is off and running, and this is a dangerous return man in Coy Parrish, stretching to the edge, but great coverage from Wisconsin to take him down at the 20, and that's where Minnesota's drive starts with redshirt freshman quarterback Drake Lindsey, who P.J. Fleck referred to last year in his redshirt season as the future, the future. Well, it's now the present, and they're loving what they're getting from their redshirt freshman quarterback.
Yeah, they certainly are. They knew that they were going to go through some of the growing pains with Drake Lindsey this season. They're going to have some ups and downs in this offense, but he's really done a solid job all year long. And when you compare him to other freshman quarterbacks, certainly one of the best, and learned a lot from Max Brosmer, who's going to be getting his first start for the Vikings this weekend.
Yeah. Threw for 264 and 4 touchdowns last week against Northwestern. That did come in a 3-point loss. He looks to throw in the opening play of the day, slings it to the sideline. That's Lemeki Brockington with the catch. As you take a look at the offensive line that Minnesota has here, they put in Tony Nelson as a starter for the first time this year.
Yeah, and that's huge for Tony Nelson from Tracy, Minnesota, so he knows all about being in this rivalry, and some good talent on the outside. We saw Brockington there, but Jalen Smith, Javon Tracy on the outside, and then got some tight ends with Walsh and Bierman that can be targets as well in this weather.
Pickup of 5 on the first play of the day. It's another throw for Lindsey. It's caught. No, it's juggled and dropped. That's going to be part of the elements today.
And look at this Wisconsin defense. They certainly have some playmakers as well. Darrell Peterson, the senior graduate from Akron, Ohio. He's a playmaker in that linebacker core. You got the two true freshmen with Catalana and Poza really come on here late in the season, and on the back end, Hallman and Young have been playmakers all year.
3rd and 5. To the sideline, that's Drew Bibber, the tight end. He pulls it in, and it's enough for a first down.
But nothing fancy here. Nice and flat on the break from Bibber. And of course, talk about the footing for the offensive player. Defensive players have problem reacting too.
Floats it over the top. Darius Taylor, the running back, who's a great pass catcher out of the backfield, is dropped by Cooper Catalano after another nice pickup on first down. There is a flag thrown.
Illegal substitution, 12 players on the field at the snap, defense. 5-yard penalty, first down.
First penalty of the day against Luke Fickell's team. A Wisconsin defense that's been so good in 2 of the last 3 weeks, that's led to top 25 wins with a 4th string quarterback playing. Fake the handoff, Lindsey to throw again. He's pressured, rolls right, tons of space in front of him, fires against his body, Javon Tracy, but it was knocked away at the last moment.
But I think Lindsey saw that one just a little bit late. Javon Tracy really broke open earlier on the route. He gets rid of that thing a little bit earlier. He doesn't have to throw back across his body, and also allows defenders to get in there. And you talked about it, partner. We saw it with the drop already. Really have to secure the football in these kind of conditions.
It was a great job by Austin Brown, the safety who came in there and batted the football away, and now he's the one that's a little slow getting up, limping off the field. Finally a run play. It's Darius Taylor with a patient run, surges across the 40. It's enough to move the chains.
Boy, this is that snow shuffle type run that you're going to see from Darius Taylor. You watch as he gets to the edge here. Shuffle, 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 shuffle. You can't plant the way that you normally can on a completely dry field. This thing's got some heaters, but plenty of snow on the turf.
Lindsey takes the check down to Taylor, who swung to the ground at the 45. Yeah, I mean, nobody would know that better than you. Running in these conditions, what has to change for a running back?
Well, you just have to you have to take shorter steps for one thing. You know, when you stride too far, you get your legs out over your center of gravity, and it's just harder to make sharper cuts in general.
Jamison Gears, tight end, had a little bit of a juggle, but he pulls it in, and that's across midfield. It's another first down for Minnesota, who's doing a lot of damage through the air on this first drive.
Yeah, they certainly are, and Greg Harbaugh, the offensive coordinator, really doing a nice job mixing things up. I mean, hitting the edges.
Taylor with a stutter step. Wisconsin's defense is there. It's a short gain of just about 2 yards.
Yeah, hitting the edges, taking the chances with Drake Lindsey when you need to. Doing a nice job mixing it up, really just giving this Wisconsin defense all kinds of things to think about. And, you know, we talk again about the conditions and what it really affects, and the pass rush can get affected by these types of conditions. You just don't have the footing that you normally would, and this is a normally stout Wisconsin defensive front that can get after quarterbacks and get into opposing backfields. Just really hard to get a good start, especially with those big bodies.
Give to Taylor again. The run defense is stout here for Wisconsin. Stops him for just 1 yard. It's the linebackers Catalano and Posa combining for the stop.
The Bash brothers there, that linebacker spot. And in talking to Luke, Luke was an unbelievable high school wrestler. Mason Posa, 4-time state champion wrestler out of Albuquerque, New Mexico. And those guys are just so good with balance and using their hands. Wisconsin, nice job forcing a 3rd and long situation.
Posa's dad was also a 3-time All-American wrestler in college too, so came through the genes. 3rd and 8. Lindsey looking to throw to the far side of the field. It's incomplete. Wanted Brockington, but it was nowhere close. And after a couple first downs, the Minnesota drive stalls out.
Well, the pressure gets to Drake Lindsey that time, makes him throw that ball a little bit early, and I'm not so sure there wasn't some sort of miscommunication. I thought that he expected a flatter break from his receiving target there.
A 10-play drive that crosses midfield but ends up with no points as the punt unit comes on the field. It's Tom Weston to punt it for Minnesota. Tyrell Henry is back for the Badgers inside his own 10.
Always have to watch the snaps in these kind of conditions.
Clean snap, get it away. Henry lets it fly out of bounds, and that is pinned inside the 10, which is where the Minnesota drive will start for the first time when they're Wisconsin's offense next. No 2 rivals have played against each other more than these two. Wisconsin and Minnesota in a series that dates all the way back to 1890, and they've played every year since with the exception of 1906. 119 straight years running, and this rivalry means a lot to these two fan bases, Robert.
Yeah, it certainly does. And, one of the funnier stories was the Slab of Bacon trophy. That, the Slab of Bacon, they played for that until 1943, and after another Minnesota win, the Slab of Bacon disappeared in the chaos of the victory on the field, but all of a sudden it shows up in Wisconsin's storage in 1994. Probably a Packers fan that stole it.
Certainly the former Vikings player wouldn't have anything bad to say about the Packers. What a perfect day for Big Ten football. 23 degrees, snowy. Wisconsin's first possession on offense starting inside their own 10. It's Darion Dupree. He is swarmed in the backfield. It's Devin Eastern who makes the stop for a loss of a couple.
Yeah, and we talked about this Minnesota defensive line. Eastern's going to be lined up right in here. It's a nice job getting into his lineman and then using his hands to get free. Nice vision into the backfield, sees it all the way. Another one of those tackles for loss that we talked about on the season. Every game but one this year, they have at least 5 tackles for loss.
Top 10 in the country, more than 7 per game. Dupree with a stutter step. He jolts up the middle, and he picks up about 6 yards. It's Coy Parrish, the safety, in for the stop.
Boy, and Coy Parrish from Esco, Minnesota, all the way up near Duluth. Guy's got a nose for the football, a fist for the football. Had a forced fumble last week. Any other body part, he's always near the football. And they'll line him up really anywhere, all the way back at safety, sometimes at corner, and they'll use him in between. You'll see him making tackles in between the tackles. Versatile player.
Empty backfield. It's the freshman quarterback, Carter Smith, sneaks through that defense in Minnesota, and it's enough to pick up a first down.
And just enough movement to break free. You see he gets up into the line of scrimmage, but a nice job reading it, getting to the outside, and big Riley Mahlman, the left tackle, was just big enough to get in the way of a defender trying to come in and make that play. And we talked about the legs of Carter Smith. Going to be crucial if they walk away today with a victory.
Didn't take his first snap with the offense until the week leading up to his debut less than a month ago. Fakes the toss, flushed out of the pocket to the left, and he has to just get rid of the football. It's Anthony Smith who makes a living in the backfield, disrupting Smith.
Yeah, and Jeff Grimes, the offensive coordinator, he told us, last week, because of the injuries that they've had both at quarterback and at running back, he was down to his 4th call sheet because of the injuries, and he's really just kind of had to make do with a lot of new faces at those skill positions. Seen a lot of different looks out of this offense, but Carter Smith now getting a little bit more comfortable. Your 3rd start, especially as a true freshman, there's just such a monumental leap in comfort that you have, but in conditions like this, you don't want to get too risky.
The 4 quarterbacks that they've used this season tied for the most in the nation, and the offense for Wisconsin forced to take a timeout. We'll take it with them. No score on a snowy Saturday in Minneapolis. Time for today's Game Flow, sponsored by Progressive. I'm not usually an advocate for snow and cold weather, but there's something about this rivalry, Robert, that just welcomes this kind of weather.
Yeah, there's no two ways about it. When it gets cold up here, it's just a different kind of cold, too. Being from Cleveland, I remember I got here in '93, and it was like, yeah, it's cold in Minnesota, it's cold in Minnesota. Like, whatever, I grew up in Cleveland. And then you get those days. This isn't Minnesota cold. Minnesota cold is when you get down into single digits and your nostrils start to freeze when you get outside.
It's a 2nd and 10 out of the timeout. Oh, bad snap, hit the man in motion, it's loose. Looked like Minnesota jumped on it. Minnesota says they have it, and they do. Vinny Anthony was the receiver in motion, and it was snapped off of him to force the fumble.
Well, Hines in the center, I'm not sure if he just snaps this one a little bit earlier. If Carter Smith, you see him raise that right leg. A true freshman quarterback, maybe not understanding the timing, not understanding that receiver in motion is going to be in the way, but you lift that foot up, you send the signal to Hines, and he's not looking at the receiver in motion. He just figures it's time to snap it and snaps it right into him. Gophers ball in the red zone.
John Nestor, who missed last week against Northwestern, back in the lineup today, is the one who falls on the football and gives the Gophers the ball just outside of the red zone. True freshman quarterback making just his 3rd start of his career. Calling for the snap at an inopportune time to force the fumble, and here come the Gophers. Play action. Lindsey rolling right, dumps it off, and it's incomplete. Looking for Brockington, just out of his reach.
Boy, you got to make the layups, even in weather like this. You just don't get too many opportunities like this. Get a turnover in the red zone. A nice, easy throw, and another great play call from Greg Harbaugh, the offensive coordinator. You go 1st down. Everybody expecting run, go play action. Nice levels throw. Just have to make the completion.
We'll keep it on the ground this time. Darius Taylor with a sidestep down to the 20 for 2 yards. It's Cooper Catalano, the linebacker, with already his 3rd tackle the first quarter.
We talk about sudden change all the time as a defense, and really this defense has allowed this team to make the turnaround that they have here late in the year. I mean, they've only had more than 300 yards of offense once since week 2 of the season. But this defense, stout and here in a tough situation.
3rd and 8. Lindsey flips it out. That's Javon Tracy, who had such a big week last week with 3 touchdowns, but he's met immediately by Jameer Latimer.
Boy, Latimer, the junior from Fairbairn, Georgia, just recognizes this right away. Watch him trigger a nice, secure tackle in this kind of weather. And what you hear defensive coaches say all the time, at this time of year especially, get your body on him. You know, don't go reaching for the feet. Make sure that you get all the way in a position to put a body on a body. That's what Latimer did there.
38-yard attempt here for Brady Denneberg, who's hit from as long as 46 this season. It's a short kick. It might have got tipped, and it is no good. A turnover does no harm to Wisconsin. We are still scoreless on FS1. Next Saturday on Fox, two iconic programs go head-to-head in a huge top 15 showdown as freshman phenom Cameron Boozer leads number 4 Duke against Tom Izzo's 11th-ranked Michigan State Spartans. It all tips off 11:30 a.m. Eastern, only on Fox. Well, moments ago, a second block kick of the season for Ben Barton, who just gets his fingertips on it.
Yeah, Ben Barton, a graduate, smart guy. 3-time academic, all Big Ten, and you mentioned it, partner. Second block of the season, had the block in the fourth quarter against Washington that would have tied the game.
It's a Minnesota offense that took over at the 22 thanks to a turnover, but the Wisconsin defense with a phenomenal job to not allow any points, and now the offense takes over with a little bit of breathing room after their opening drive started inside the 10.
Well, when you watch Carter Smith run, you can tell he's got some running back in him. Probably really smart, and you know all those other good qualities that the running backs have. But no, seriously, when he gets up into the line of scrimmage, he just does a really nice job of following the blocks and seeing the openings, cutbacks, even in inclement weather like this. Carter Smith, those legs, so dangerous.
Dupree in motion, 2 to the left side. Smith with a toss to his tight end, and he swung to the ground. That's Lance Mason after just a couple yards. Well, you had mentioned with Carter Smith and him loving to run the football. His offensive coordinator, Jeff Grimes, said he gets emotionally energized from running the football. He goes, I don't know that I've been around many quarterbacks who love to get hit as much as he does.
Yeah, he's got to do a better job finishing some of his runs. I'm sure Jeff Grimes has kind of looked at some of those and told him, you know, you got to get to the ground a little bit better than you have. He does a nice job running the ball, but you really got to know how to finish and know how not to take big shots at the end. And here we go, third down opportunity, but Danny Collins, the Minnesota defensive coordinator, said they'll run in 3rd and 9, let alone 3rd and 5.
It's a design run for Smith, the quarterback, who is spun down after a short pickup, and it's 4th down. Devin Williams, the linebacker, they missed him in a big way last week. He makes the stop here.
Boy, you're going to see Parrish come down as well. Heat sick and missile from his safety spot. These guys do a nice job. They're expecting this all the way. See Parrish there on the ground. We talked about him, man. Just an absolute playmaker, but you know, Danny Collins did a nice job. Hey, we know what to expect from Carter Smith. He's going to try and run the football on 3rd down.
Now Parrish is back to return the punt. He is so good in every facet. Calls for a fair catch. Goes to the ground with it just outside of the 30 after a short 40-yard punt. No score here from the bank in Minneapolis. The Minnesota defense comes up with a big stop. Season of ups and downs for Minnesota, but it's been the first year that Drake Lindsey has been under center, and the freshman has played really well this year. Been helped out by his defense, too, which is top 10 in the country in tackles for loss and sacks on the year. And when they're here at home, Robert, 6-0, tough place to come in here and win if you're the opponent.
Yeah, it certainly is. And in talking to PJ Fleck, I thought it was great. You know, you don't want to spoon feed the quarterback. He said, no, we're going to give him the old tidal wave treatment. We just want to throw everything at him. But really, in watching him state championship when he played down there at Arkansas, they could really see the way that he threw with anticipation. PJ said that he's really just grown in that, really learning the position.
He tosses it to Ejeboy on the first play of this drive, and he follows a block out to the 35, which we can still barely tell underneath that pocket of snow.
Yeah, but continuing that point about the development of Drake Lindsey, and you know, with Greg Harbaugh, the offensive coordinator, they said just the way that he's grown with the way that he anticipates and the way that he throws people open, and the accuracy, of course, difficult to throw in these kind of conditions, but they've certainly seen that growth out of him.
He will throw here on second down. Looking at the near sideline, Javon Tracy reels it in, and he's spun out of bounds just across the 40 by Deani Hill.
Well, and here it is. Think about Javon Tracy, 3 touchdowns a week ago. Nice job getting by first down marker there. Get by a couple of yards because you know you're going to be coming back to the football.
Looks to throw again, zips it out to the near sideline. That's pulled in. It's the tight end for Minnesota who makes the catch, Frank Bierman.
That's Bierman from Iowa. It was funny listening to PJ Fleck, talking about the rivalry, how great it is. And he says, you have people on the team that won't even, or Minnesota people, they won't eat at Culver's because it's a Wisconsin place. And he says, people from Iowa like Bierman, you can hear them yell all the way from the top level of the Mall of America down to him, "Go Hogs!" That's a big ball. That's a long way down from the top.
Handoff, Ejeboy keeps those legs pushing. He's across midfield. It's another really nice run for Ejeboy, and Minnesota has second and short coming up after 6 yards.
Yeah, and this is where the big uglies, man, Roy, Johnson, Beers, Nelson, and Ray along that offensive line. I love these kind of conditions because not only do you know where you're going, but the footing's not as good for those defensive linemen, and you get just a little bit of momentum, and you get those guys pancake blocks on their back. Third and short here. See if they can convert.
It's a snap to Taylor. He keeps the football, direct snap with the running back, and that's enough for a first down.
Yeah, they do this with him in short yardage. They do it sometimes down in the red zone, and see they're shoveling a little bit, cleaning some areas off of the field. We see more and more footprints, and as this snow continues to fall, the footing gets worse. It's always good to have a running back with good balance, able to make some nice cuts.
Give. Taylor lowers the shoulder, busts loose, but then he's ripped to the ground. 4-yard pickup for Darius Taylor.
Mason Posa in on that tackle. You talk about that duo. Catalano and Posa. Catalano had 19 tackles against Washington. Just unreal.
Lindsey snaps it to the sideline. That's Malachi Coleman's first catch today. Good pickup to make it third and manageable.
It doesn't take a whole lot in these kind of conditions, especially these defensive backs. It's so much harder for them to break on the football. They get into that back pedal and get these nice little short routes, but here we are again, third and short, but you're really in that area where you probably have 2 downs to convert here.
3rd and 2. They're hoping they don't need a 4th down. Give. Ejeboy pushed right up the middle, and he's stopped at the 37, which is the line to gain.
Oh, that's first down. They're moving him. Right foot, left foot spot. Well, we got one official saying 4th down. We had the official on our side saying first down, but
PJ Flex saying first down.
Well,
and there they go. They're moving the chains.
And there goes PJ taking off. He's running down in the snow.
End of one. A snowy, cold day in Minneapolis for the battle for Paul Bunyan's axe, and we've got no score. The kind of score you might expect on a snowy day here in the regular season finale in the battle for Paul Bunyan's axe. Wisconsin and Minnesota tied at 0, but that doesn't mean it hasn't been a lot of fun through the first 15 minutes.
Yeah, and how did they get that drone flying in this thing? You're going to be concerned about the propellers freezing up and that thing flying into somebody's face.
We welcome in those of you who are watching on Fox, the TCU-Cincinnati game in a weather delay right now. Start of the second quarter from Minneapolis. Noah Reed, Robert Smith with you. And Minnesota has the football in Wisconsin territory. Lindsey cannot shake free, and he's dropped in the backfield. Christian Christian Allegro with the sack, and it has Minnesota pushed back.
But watch the pressure from Reiger. Initially, this is going to force Lindsey up into the pocket, and then Allegro with that big club. That's just an embodiment of what this Wisconsin defense is all about. See him playing with that club. These guys have been pressuring quarterbacks all year. Nice disciplined rush.
And such a nice drive to this point for Minnesota, who's been really balanced even through the elements, passing the football with Drake Lindsey a lot. It's a delayed handoff. Darius Taylor bouncing away from one, and he's dragged down from behind after he gets a couple of those yards back. It's Mason Posa, the true freshman, who's been great this season for the Badgers.
Boy, but you can see from Darius Taylor there, I mean, that's a heck of a cut to make in this kind of weather and cover that kind of ground laterally. When you've got this kind of snow on the ground, it shows what kind of player he is, and we know how versatile the guy is. Playing that wildcat quarterback, catching the ball out of the backfield, he can do it all.
3rd and 12, just ahead of the 9th play of the drive here for the Gophers. Lindsey stepping up, escapes pressure, rolls right, directs traffic. Lindsey using the legs, and he's dragged out of bounds. That Wisconsin defense has been great. Once Minnesota's gotten it into plus territory, they've had stand after stand.
Well, but you can see the kind of poise and command of the offense that Drake Lindsey has, and the kind of control that they give him. And this is another thing PJ Fleck talked about, giving him a tidal wave. Says they've got 22-syllable play calls, but you can see him up at the line of scrimmage there. They're getting a tell on the defense, get the motion, know that he's got zone coming, and then Drake Lindsey, you could see him alerting the offensive line, and that's what he does. Changing a lot of runs, Mike calls. He does it all.
They say with a freshman quarterback, they thought it might be a little bit of hold on, let's see what it's going to be in store for us, but he's been really great this season. And how about that punt from Tom Weston? Pins Wisconsin inside the 5 all the way down to the 2, and that's where the Badgers offense has it next. Well, it's unfortunately been a revolving door at quarterback this season for Wisconsin. A couple season-ending injuries. The 4 starting quarterbacks tied for the most by any team in the country. They've played 6 top 25 teams, 3 of which have been in the top 6. But in 2 of the last 3 weeks, Robert, it's been a strong finish with a couple top 25 wins.
Yeah, it certainly has. Tough situation here, though, coming out of your own end zone.
Starting from their own 2, a handoff. That's Jackson Aker, a tight end slash fullback slash running back. They'll line him up everywhere, and he gives Wisconsin a little bit of breathing room with 2 yards.
Yeah, Jackson Aker is an old school kind of guy, man. You hit it, partner. Mr. Versatility, but you could see like on a catch last week, toe tapping on the sideline. He's a big man with some nimble feet. You could see why they feel comfortable giving him the ball in this situation. Of course, you got to watch for Carter Smith's legs here as well. You know what this offense likes to do, misdirection. Watch for the quarterback keeper.
It's a handoff. Dupree pushes down just outside the 10. He picks up 5, and it's a 3rd down coming up for the Badgers.
Well, this is an opportunity to load that box up. We know Danny Collins, defensive coordinator for Minnesota, he talked about this Wisconsin offense, especially with Carter Smith. He said, no guarantees that they're going to be throwing the football here in 3rd and short. He said they'll run it in 3rd and 9.
Yeah.
Big bodies in the backfield.
There it goes. Smith takes off, and Minnesota's defense knew it was coming. John Nestor off the edge with the stop, and the Gophers defense forces a 3-and-out.
Watch Nestor slip initially coming off the edge, a little bit outside of the angle there, but Nestor was waiting there the entire time, and that's one, maybe with a true freshman quarterback, understanding the structure of the defense, you might want to check to a different play or understand that Nestor is going to be crashing there and try and bounce that thing outside of him.
Already a fumble recovery, now a big tackle for loss on third down by the cornerback John Nestor today. Very much welcomed to have him back in the lineup after he missed last week, and there is a flag, and this is going to back up Wisconsin even more.
False start. Offense number 46, half the distance to the goal, fourth down.
Average starting field position of their own 10 today for Luke Fickell on 3 drives for Wisconsin, and they really haven't been able to move the football whatsoever.
Boy, this can be even more difficult when that ball's out there that much more time. With this amount of snow coming down, you really have to watch the snap here. Make sure it's clean.
Snap is clean. West gets it away. It's a really short punt off the side of his foot. Oh, Coy Parrish fell on the football, might have come out for a little bit, but he recovers it after just a 30-yard punt, and Minnesota gets to start this drive at the 35 of Wisconsin with an opportunity to score the first points today.
It looked like they were on that first drive. They were moving the ball pretty well, mixing things up, but we talk about this Wisconsin defense and 2 wins over ranked teams in the last few weeks. One of only a few teams this century to have done that, being a team that is unranked, beating 2 ranked teams in the stretch of a few weeks.
Top 25 Washington and Illinois in the span of 3 weeks. Play action from Lindsey. He faces some heat, lofts it to Taylor, the running back, who's such a great pass catcher out of the backfield, and he picks up a few more yards after the catch.
You watch Darius Taylor on this one. He's like, please get this ball down. Lindsey puts a little bit too much air on that one. He's like, just let me catch this thing, get turned upfield. See all those blockers are there, but you know those defenders are going to be converging. But a nice job, really, of that Wisconsin defense converging on that, keeping that to a gain of less than 4 yards.
13 pass attempts today for Drake Lindsey, the freshman quarterback, who, when he saw the weather conditions this week, told his OC, Greg Harbaugh, I don't care about any of that. We're passing the football. He hands it off here, and it's 2 or 3 yards for Taylor.
Well, he's going to get his opportunity here on third down. Tell Greg Harbaugh you want to throw the ball. You can get this 3rd and 5 situation.
Minnesota has gotten the ball into Wisconsin territory on all 4 drives to open this game, but no points to show for it. 3rd and medium. Give Taylor, patient run, bust through the seam, and he's dragged down inside the 20. 10 yards and a first down for Darius Taylor.
Boy, nothing fancy on the run, but you love the cutback. Just getting it up into the line of scrimmage. Running folks over. Staying vertical, keeping the balance. Great contact balance on the run.
Now Lindsey with great protection. Check down Taylor again, lowers the shoulder and dives forward for a couple extra yards. Darius Taylor, when he's at his best, Robert, Greg Harbaugh, the offensive coordinator, said he runs so angry that quarterbacks have commented on hearing him grunt and aggressively rips the football out of their hands when they hand it off to him.
Yeah, that was actually in the battle for Paul Bunyan's axe. A year ago, I believe it was Brosmer that was saying that he heard that from Darius Taylor. And he hasn't been 100%. He's had some health issues on the season, but when he's in there, he's running hard.
Ejaboy, who replaces Taylor on this carry. 2 more yards. He's down to the 15.
Boy, nothing big. Just subtle movements from linebackers. And this is, you know, from a true freshman, and this is Mason Posa, who we've talked about, along with Catalano, as those true freshman linebackers that have really come on here late in the season. You know, in talking to Luke Fickell, said, you know, those are the kind of things, you know, plays like that right there, just slipping a blocker. You can't necessarily see things like that in practice, Once they got those guys into live game action, though, they knew they weren't coming off the field.
It's a 3rd and 6. Keep it on the ground with Boy bouncing outside, and he's ripped to the ground. Brandon Lane Jr., the 6th-year grad from Kansas City, Missouri, with the stop.
This is what you call defeating a block. You watch him right here in the middle, just destroying the block from Nelson, who was getting the start at that right guard spot today and getting into the backfield. Just because those guys come to block you doesn't mean you have to stay blocked. You got to be violent with those hands. Defeat the block. Get that tackle for loss.
This is a 33-yard attempt for Denneberger. Had one from 38 blocked earlier today, but this one sails right through the middle and gives us the first points of the day. 3-0 Minnesota, late 2nd quarter. Let's look at the current Big Ten standings, sponsored by Discover, and the Discover Big Ten Championship game next Saturday on Fox has been set as both Ohio State and Indiana cap off perfect regular seasons at 12-0. Congrats, Robert. The Ohio State win today over Michigan.
Wait a second. Indiana's 12-0. Like, I don't want to say that it's like unthinkable, but congratulations to you. Seriously, man. I mean, you know, Indiana's had some tough times over the years, and of course, Ohio State at right tackle, they've got Phillip Daniels, the former Gopher, who went into the portal and went to Ohio State this year. So he's going to earn himself he has earned himself a trip to the Big Ten Championship. I'm excited to see that one, man. You know, we had Indiana week 1 against Old Dominion. They look a lot different now.
They certainly do. Ball goes through the back of the end zone, and the drive starts at the 25 here for Wisconsin, as we welcome in those of you joining us on Fox, as Cincinnati and TCU still in a weather delay. Noah Reed and Robert Smith with you from the battle for Paul Bunyan's axe. 3-0 on a snowy 23-degree day in Minneapolis. And how about that? Starting field position on 4 drives for Wisconsin, average at their own 11.
Brutal day. You know what Luke Fickell and this offense, what they want to do. They want to play bully ball. They want to play smash mouth with a running quarterback. Minnesota defense so far rising up when they've needed to.
It's kept by the quarterback, Smith, the freshman, and he's taken down, but he just gets the football away for an incomplete pass. Baranowski, the linebacker, chasing him down to force the incompletion.
Boy, Carter Smith going to miss an opportunity downfield. You're going to see Trech Kekahuna wide open right here. Look, I know as a young quarterback, it just takes time to get comfortable. Like, you want to make those underneath throws again and again and again, but gets his eyes downfield right there. They would have been in business. He might still be running.
This is just his 4th pass attempt of the day. It's a completion on that far sideline, tiptoeing the sideline. And Vinny Anthony, the second, with the grab.
Boy, and they love Vinny Anthony. Tremendous player, and this is what it takes in weather like this. Good old Bill Walsh mindset, that throw short, run long. You just need guys to break some tackles and make some plays for the quarterback. But Carter Smith, in just his 3rd start of the season, got to watch for those downfield opportunities. They don't come wide open the way they did a couple plays ago very often.
He's looking to throw again after a first down, launching it down the sideline. There's nobody there. Kekahuna was the nearest one, but it was well beyond his reach, and it's 2nd and 10 for the Badgers.
Kekahuna's going to go back to the huddle and be like, what's up, man? Did I say something wrong on the trip over? I actually flew here on Thanksgiving night with the guy that was going to be flying Wisconsin here on their charter flight. There were 20 people on the flight. One of them was the pilot that was going to be flying Wisconsin. I don't know, maybe Kekahuna got into it with Carter Smith.
Dupree picks up a couple here.
No, and you know, just learning the position as a true freshman, and you know, you talked about it, Parker. You know, going into that Washington game a few weeks ago, he had just been playing with the scout team.
Yeah.
So just trying to get comfortable and learn the verbiage, everything that you need to do, and then try and get that footwork consistent so you can accurately throw footballs. This is why the quarterback position is so difficult and why it's so expensive, quite frankly, right now in college football. Remember, he was committed to Michigan before Bryce Underwood committed.
Fourth string quarterback. They were not expecting him to have to play at all, but here he is in a rivalry game. Takes the crossing route, catch, Kekahuna stretching to the edge, and he's ripped out of bounds, shy of the marker by Devin Williams.
You know, and Danny Collins, the defensive coordinator, this is his first year as a defensive play caller. You remember Corey Heatherman, their DC from a year ago down at the University of Miami, so they lost him to the portal too, but you know, he said that he's really just kind of had to learn this personnel on the defensive side of the ball. And when you have a freshman quarterback, you really want to mix those zones up, mix those looks up. You want things to look different post-snap than they do pre-snap, because he has to make those decisions post-snap. Sometimes just confuses a young quarterback.
Another short punt, back-to-back for Wisconsin, and Minnesota once again will get great starting field position. PJ Fleck's team up 3-0 on a snowy day in Minneapolis.
Tomorrow on Fox, it's Matthew Stafford and the Rams. They battle the Panthers. Justin Jefferson, Max Brosmer, and the Vikings take on guy who was a quarterback here last year, Sam Darnold and the Seahawks. Or other regional action. Check local listings for the game in your area, only on Fox.
A kind of day that PJ Fleck told us yesterday he called this weather beautiful. Not sure I would call it that, but hey. Rivalry day, Paul Bunyan's Axe, 135th all-time meeting on a snowy, cold day from the bank. Lindsey with protection, rolling left, zips it to the sideline, and that's pulled in near midfield. That's Jalen Smith, the redshirt freshman, a young guy that this coaching staff is really excited about.
Well, his receiver's going to help out on this one, though. You can't stay covered. You have to understand, you got the first play, and then there's that second play. You see your quarterback, he hasn't gotten rid of the football. Don't just stand in front of defenders. Get on the move. Try and get yourself free.
Lindsey has completed 7 passes in a row. Not an easy day to be throwing the football. Takes the screen, far side. It's caught and dropped just across midfield. A 3rd and short coming up after Javon Tracy picks up 3.
And you call it, partner. I mean, you're calling some pretty good plays.
Yeah.
And you're getting some pretty good execution. If you have conditions like this, I know they're not 15, 20-yard throws downfield, but just catching the ball at all in these conditions consistently can be difficult, but got to be able to convert some of those 3rd downs.
Yeah, haven't really seen any shots downfield, which you would kind of expect, but it's been a lot of check downs, some screens. See what they got on 3rd down. It's a give. Taylor bursting through the seam, and Darius Taylor, one man to beat. Taylor, touchdown Minnesota.
This is the way it's supposed to look. Sometimes they look exactly how you draw them up on the board. Excellent job up front. Double teams up to the 2nd level. Huge hole on the right side of the line. Matthew Young can't get home in time. And then the burst from Darius Taylor. And we were talking about him earlier. Some of the injury problems that he's had. No signs of him right there. Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. Give me 6.
A great block from Pierce Walsh, the tight end, springs a 49-yard touchdown run for Darius Taylor. Back-to-back scoring drives for the Gophers, and they have opened up a 10-0 lead with 2:45 to go before halftime.
Well, the right side of the line does a tremendous job. Pierce Walsh lined up in the backfield. gets a cutoff on the backside, but it was really just that burst. And he sees it, accelerates. When we talk about the difficulty on the back end of the defense, those defenders, not just when they're breaking on routes, but when they're breaking on runs like that, and something that, you just don't know how to practice for until you get in the situation, is the angle that you're going to have to take when a runner breaks into the open like that. And if your footing isn't solid, sometimes those first few steps, it's good old Scooby-Doo. That's before your time. Those Scooby-Doo steps, just kind of running in air. You're sliding on the snow, not gaining any ground.
Well, I think it's been a great offensive game plan for Minnesota today, too, because on a day like this, you might think it's run, 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 but they've thrown the football so much today with Drake Lindsey that run game there, it was a little unpredictable.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Play action can be so much more effective in conditions like this because defenders take those first few steps with that play action, with that eye candy, get out of position.
Wisconsin defense was so good the first 3 drives, stopping Minnesota in plus territory, not allowing points, but a field goal followed by a touchdown has the Badgers down 10-0, and with a true freshman quarterback, they've got to start piecing together something offensively.
Yeah, they certainly do, and they're going to need their quarterback to start making some completions. We saw a couple opportunities on that last drive just with Tretch Kekahuna. He should have been hitting him down the field. One time didn't see him, second time completely overthrew him. And here looks like we got Hunter Simmons in.
Backup quarterback, a redshirt senior, transferred from Southern Illinois, has played a couple games this season. They used him in this situation last week, too, in the 2 minutes. Fakes the handoff, zips it out to the far sideline, and Kekahuna's ripped to the ground after a short pickup.
This is one of those opportunities you may want to try double move. Again, we talk about the conditions and how slippery it can be on the field, especially when you're playing softer coverage. You get a defender backed off a little bit, fake a throw to pull them up, and then hit it behind them.
Oh, high snap. Simmons was just able to gather it, and it's incomplete. That was a near disaster of a play for Wisconsin.
Yeah, a couple of different ways right there. You get the high snap. Simmons does a nice job corralling that thing and then throws that ball to the outside. Almost a backwards pass. It's just those little details. How many times you practice those? I think it was we had a little bit of snow in Madison this week as well, so they had a little bit of snow that they could practice in. But no matter how many times you practice it, just one little thing gets off like that in the timing. And then you combine that with conditions, and it can just be difficult to execute.
3rd and 6. Simmons looking right the whole way. Lost it into wide open man. It's Vinny Anthony down the sideline. Stiff arms a defender. Anthony is just tracked down near the 5. A massive play on 3rd and 6 by the Badgers.
Why do you want to change quarterbacks? Well, we know what this guy can do. We're in this together now, just like 9 Inch Nail says. And the Badgers say, we're inside the red zone, inside the 10, trying to score some points, down 10-0.
Coming up, it's the State Farm halftime. Ryan Day in Ohio State snatches that monkey off their back against Michigan, while Miami dominates Pittsburgh, but it might not be enough to get into the playoffs. Plus, Texas Tech and BYU tuning up for the Big 12 championship. Noah Robert, we will see you fellas at the break.
Mike, thank you. It looks a little bit warmer in studio than it is here in Minneapolis. I feel like temperature of about 12 degrees. Wisconsin offense didn't have a lot going, but Hunter Simmons just completed a 68-yard pass right before the 2-minute timeout. And now Carter Smith, the starting quarterback, is back in the game with the ball inside the 5. Holds on to it, lunging towards the goal line, and he's short by about 2 yards. It's Coy Parrish, the safety, with the hit to prevent the touchdown.
This is something that Minnesota defense saw a week ago. against Northwestern with Ryan Bowe running quarterback inside of the red zone, so they're ready for it. We know how Wisconsin teams are built year in and year out. They are a line of scrimmage football team, whether it's Malman or Brunner or Heinzen, Coverly, Mandel. Those guys got to get some push on this one. Let's see if we can get Dupree into the end zone, lined up, pistol.
It'll happen after a timeout. Luke Fickell takes his second of the half. This is a really big moment in the game, Robert, because you've got Wisconsin 2 yards outside of the end zone. You're able to punch it in here, you make it a 3-point game, and then you get the football to start the third quarter.
Yeah, we talk about that middle 8 so much, the last 4 minutes of the first half and first 4 minutes of that second half. And, you know, credit to Luke Fickell and his staff. And, you know, it's interesting. They're on their 4th starting quarterback this year, but when you look at the tenure of Luke Fickell when he's there at Wisconsin, they've only got 12 games that they have started in the entire time. 12 out of 38 games now with the guy that was the projected starter at quarterback at the beginning of the season. And, you know, Luke will be the last guy. And for those that didn't hear, you know, Luke got to Ohio State in 1992, which was my last season there at Ohio State. So I've known that young man for a long time, young man Noah Reed.
He's led his team to 2 wins against top 25 teams in the last 3 weeks. Down 10-0, 1:14 before halftime, and this is about to be just the second play all game for Wisconsin in Minnesota territory. Fake the handoff, Kekahuna on the catch, he's dragged down. John Nestor's been fantastic in the first half for the Gophers.
Yeah, we saw Nestor with a 3rd down stop coming off of the edge, and here he's just not buying this at all. He's expecting this. Stays at home and wraps, more importantly, to get the big stop. Nestor had some injury troubles out of the Chicago area. Started off at Iowa, but a sure tackler for sure.
Has a fumble recovery, the big tackle you just mentioned on 3rd down a little while ago. Now the stop here to bring up 3rd down.
To 40 seconds, it was erroneously set to 25. 1:10 on the 40 on the play clock. Both will start on my signal.
Well, you got big Tucker Ashcraft, the tight end, in the slot. Always a good matchup to look for that tight end. Big body. Bad matchup a lot of times for defenders.
PJ Fleck takes his first time out of the half, just ahead of a 3rd and goal. A rivalry that means everything to these two fan bases. PJ Fleck told us earlier this week that he's had fans tell him that they won't eat at Culver's because it's a Wisconsin-based restaurant. Talked with Daryl Peterson earlier this week, the linebacker for Wisconsin. He said he was stopped multiple times in the grocery store this week by fans saying, you better bring the axe back to Madison this week.
Yeah, we talked about the history of the rivalry, and this is, you know, for all the changes that have occurred in college football, this kind of tradition, I think they've done a really good job making sure that a lot of these rivalries get to the end of the season because they do mean so much. And having grown up in Ohio and, of course, Ohio State, Michigan, and I think Ohio State won that game. I'll have to check with our producer later. But, you know, having grown up around those rivalries, they just mean so much. And, you know, walking around, people talking smack. I love the story, BJ. We talked about it earlier. People yelling at them in the Mall of America that are Iowa fans. So whether it's Iowa or Wisconsin, you're going to run into some enemies out here sometimes in public.
3rd and goal. Dupree straight up the middle. He has stood up shy of the goal line.
Maverick Baranowski. There is not a better name for a linebacker in all of college football. And there's no more physical player on this defense, and that's the way you do it. If you're named Maverick Baranowski, that's the only way that you can play football, sticking your nose in there with a big stop.
Danny Collins, his defensive coordinator, said he is the heart and soul of our defense, and he was there. Offense stays on the field on 4th down. PJ Fleck says, let's take a timeout. Hold up on that for just a moment.
Well, yeah, they don't do you any good.
No.
In the locker room, and you talked about it, especially with Wisconsin having an opportunity to double up here with the points. Make sure you get that right call, right personnel on the field.
Wisconsin with a chance for points right before halftime. They also get the football to start the 3rd quarter. So a huge swing opportunity here for Luke Fickell's team.
Easy to say when you're standing up in the nice toasty, well, I wouldn't call it a toasty booth. Easy to say when you're up here in the booth, but for me, I like the play fake, keeping the ball in Carter Smith's hands, getting him on the edge because of his dual threat capabilities. You go with this big I formation look, but you get that little guy on the edge.
Tight end set in motion. Play action. Smith out on the edge, looking, end zone, caught, was not in bounds, incomplete. Wanted Jackson Aker as tight end, but the Minnesota defense gets a stop on 4th and goal.
And I think Carter Smith might have just been a little bit late getting rid of this ball. You're throwing to big Jackson Aker. We talked about what kind of feet he has on the sideline, and I don't know that one would have mattered. Looks like he's got that toe down.
Oh my goodness.
That left foot may be in. I think they're going to take a look at that thing. They take a look at every scoring play, of course. It looked like that left foot might have been down when he gained control of that football. That might be a touchdown.
The ruling on the previous play was the pass was incomplete. The runner was out of, or the pass receiver was out of bounds when he caught it. That play is under further review.
If he controls this to the ground, we'll see if that ball hits the ground, but it certainly looked like that left toe was down just as that. Oh, that's a touchdown.
I think so too. The snow's not doing him any help with the white shoes on the sideline.
And if it was easy, it wouldn't be fun. Kidding me? No, they'll take another look at this one, and we'll see where that right foot is. But does he go out of bounds at all before the catch? Doesn't look like. No, look.
I don't think so.
I mean, you want to talk about some control. It looks like that left toe looks like it's down, and then that right foot. Let's bring in the King of Queens. Let's bring in Dean Blandino.
This is so close. Look, the snow doesn't help. The key is, like you said, does that left foot step out of bounds first? Because then it looks like he reestablishes. If that's the case, he's the first to touch. Now we have an illegal touch. This is going to be really close. Again, we talk about clear and obvious. Can we prove that this is a touchdown? I think it is, but I don't know if it's indisputable.
Yeah, Dean, I get in trouble when I think sometimes.
Yeah,
I know. When you say think and maybe and all those things, now are we really in a clear and obvious situation?
Right. And it doesn't look like that toe, if that snow plow job there on the sideline really marks the edge, as I'm assuming it does. It doesn't look like he ever steps out of bounds beforehand, and it looks like that toe is down. But, you know, as Dean said, that's why he's our rules expert. Like, it has to be clear and obvious. It can't be, hey, I think that, no, the call on the field is assumed to be correct. But I like touchdown here. And I mean, and if it is, my goodness, big man like that, Jackson Aker, talked about his toe tapping ability. Guy that was a former tight end, plays some running back because of the injuries that they've.
After reviewing the play, the receiver had both toes inbound, completed the process of the catch. Therefore, it is a touchdown.
Wow. Jackson Aker's first touchdown catch of the season was an incredible one on the sideline.
That's a big man getting it done right there. I mean, for his field awareness to understand, okay, wait a second, I can't step, my foot can't go out of bounds here. Like, he was so close to stepping out of bounds, but then to get that type of body control, to be able to pull that ball in and to keep his toes from going out of bounds, man, that's something special. From Madison, Wisconsin as well, Verona High School.
Extra point attempt for Vacos is there to pull it within 3 just before halftime.
Give that man a cape. On the sideline, looked like James Brown after a performance. That's just amazing for a guy that size. You know, I mean, that's tough for wide receivers to do in good conditions. In conditions like this, again, to have that kind of field awareness and body control and the hands, quite frankly, for a guy that big. That's fifth-year senior, listed at 247, so you know he's probably 55, 60, something like that. Big man.
This Wisconsin offense had a total of 47 yards prior to that drive. They go 75 yards on that last drive. A lot of it came on the 67-yard completion from Hunter Simmons, the backup quarterback. But regardless, no matter what it was, we've got a 3-point game, and it feels like a completely different game than we had about 10 or 15 minutes ago.
Yeah, there's no question about that. And that's what rivalry games are all about, and especially conditions like this. I mean, this is football perfection, to have something like this in a rivalry game where you get the snow on the ground, the wind's howling, and the Badgers have fought their way back in it.
Minnesota has won 3 of the last 4 Paul Bunyan Axe trophies. Trying to make it 4 of 5. They've got a 3-point lead just before halftime.
Yeah, and that they need to add the slab of bacon back in.
You want it
slab
back?
of bacon disappeared. Again, I'm blaming some rogue Packers fan because it was after a Minnesota win in 1943, but somehow in 1994, you tell me the slab of bacon just appears, you know, in the athletic department storage room there in Wisconsin.
Found by an intern, too. So I think that the intern probably got in trouble after that. Like, don't be telling people we got this here.
There are things that we talk about, and there are things we don't talk about. We don't talk about 40-year-old, 50-year-old trophies automatically getting found.
This is Cam Davis just outside of the 15 on the return, and he's out near the 30.
Well, we've seen some questionable decisions at the end of halves with time management and clock management. I don't think this is going to be one of them,
No.
especially not with these conditions. Stranger things have happened, but looks like they're getting into what is the greatest formation in football when it's at the end of the game, not so much when it's just going into half.
Drake Lindsay will take the knee and take us to halftime. What a fun first half. The battle for Paul Bunyan's axe. PJ Fleck's team's got a 10-7 lead over Luke Fickell and Wisconsin heading to the brink. It's cold, it's snowy, but man, has this rivalry game been a lot of fun on the last day of the regular season in college football. 10-7 Minnesota, with the State Farm halftime show coming up next with Mike Hill, Bruce Feldman, and Chris Peterson.
Gotcha.
Welcome to the State Farm FS1 College Football Halftime Show. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Hey, we are inside our LA studios. Mike Hill along with Bruce Feldman and Chris Peterson. We'll get you back out for the second half between Wisconsin and Minnesota very shortly. But first, we got to get you caught up on other action around the nation. And we start with our State Farm halftime highlights. You know where we're going, to the big house. Ohio State trying to get that monkey off their back. Ron Day 1-4 against them. They've lost the last 4. Michigan at home where they're really tough, and the defense was tough early on. Julian Sand picked off right here. Second pass of the game, Jair Hill got it.
Yeah, this is exactly the start. If you're Sharon Moore, you want your team. They got some runs early. They got the turnover. But
Yeah, Michigan was up 6-0. That was Ohio State's largest deficit of the season, but then Sand got it going. Of course, he finds Jeremiah Smith right there on 4th down. They were big on 3rd and 4th down in this game. Sand, Brandon Ennis on 3rd down, 4-yard touchdown, 17-9. Third quarter, they just took control in the second half. Sand, Carnell Tate, Sand, 19-26, 233 yards, 3 touchdowns, making things happen, and it is over. Ohio State into the Big Ten championship game. They completed an undefeated season, 12-0, 27-9. Rob Stone, Big Noon Kickoff Crew with more.
Well, the 4-game losing streak to the rivals is over, and here inside Michigan Stadium, they are going 0-8. Yeah, the Buckeyes remain unbeaten. Sorry, Charles. Coach, what impressed you about the Buckeyes win today?
Well, first, it's clear it's not 1,000 days or whatever. It's now, 2 minutes?
Yes.
We're already on the next year. No, this is a thorough beating. It was a 40-minute possession time to 20. They controlled the line of scrimmage. Mark said it. The last 23, now 24 games, whoever wins the line of scrimmage wins. Ohio State has gotten better and better and better since the first day we saw them against Texas. That will be a very difficult team to beat in the next month.
Yeah, I mean, look, they came out and performed. They beat us every which way that they possibly could. For me, it's always a lot of respect, for the guys on the other side. I got a chance to go over and speak to Caleb Downs, who I think is, a tremendous player. Can't wait to see him on the next level. Look, they came and handled business.
Yes, they did.
There's nothing else I can say.
Yes, they do. Look, Ohio State is the most complete team in the country. Defensively, they're tremendous. Offensively, they throw the football. They run the football with their emergence of Bo Jackson. They're going to be a tough team to beat in the Big Ten Championship next week, but also in the college football playoff.
I think we learned a lot about Julian Sand, right? First time in this matchup, big stage like this. Struggled early. Those first couple of passes, a little bit concerned. Really responded, came back, and then this defense. I know they've allowed, 9 touchdowns so far the entire season. They have been lights out week after week, game after game. Credit to this coach staff and Ryan Day.
The 2 red zone stops early in the game. I think Ohio State was still the far superior team, but that kind of set the tempo for the rest of the game. 2 red zone stops.
So Ryan Day gets that Wolverine off his back. The 4-game losing skid to his rivals is over. Up next, Indiana next Saturday in the Big Ten championship game.
We'll have it for you on Fox. After that 6-0 deficit, it was all domination by Ohio State. Too much Julian Sand in their offense, and the defense has been showing up all season long.
I really agree with Brady here. I thought the second play of the game, the freshman throws the interception and then just doesn't flinch, just keeps picking away and has a great game after that, so he's going to learn from that. The other thing that really jumps out to me is that Ohio State, the one thing that everybody wasn't sure about this run game, it's starting to come on. 186 yards, Bo Jackson starting to look like a really young superstar runner. And with this defense, it just plays so good, especially when it really matters, is so impressive. And the guy that might be the most impressive guy to me on this is Ryan Day.
Yeah.
I thought last year he just looked very tight most of the season and showed up in that Michigan game, and then they straightened things out. But he hasn't looked like this year. And even in this tight game, what'd they do when the game was tight? They got really good in the second half, dominated in the second half. And I swear, this demeanor seems so much different. And a lot of times that team takes on the persona of the coach. And if the coach is feeling too uptight and this is too big of a thing, team plays tight. And they're not playing tight. They're playing like champions.
Yeah, it reminded me a little bit what Coach was talking about with saying, you remember the first game they're playing Texas. Texas is #1. That's a big game.
Yep.
And it's not his fault, but they dropped 3 passes. I think Claire dropped 1, the tight end, and Jeremiah Smith dropped 2.
Yep.
And he didn't, shriek at all. He outplayed Arch for sure that day. And I thought today he seemed like he was in total control, total command. I mean, you feel like before today, and I know Michigan players felt this, and Michigan coaches definitely felt it. We get the game in the fourth quarter, we're the tougher team, they're going to wilt. You know what? They held them to -1 yard in the fourth quarter total. They dominated the second half. I would ask you, Coach, just on, was it as simple, sort of simple, of just exercising the demon of, hey, I want a national title. I don't care what people say about the Michigan game. I know it's important, but do you think that was the reason why the demeanor is so different now?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't think Urban Meyer would say it's just as simple as winning the national championship because this rivalry is so huge, but I think it did help. But I also think that, it took some pressure off him, and I'm thinking he's done some soul searching and how do I become my best for this team? And, again, he had to replace both coordinators that were really, really good, and they've just gotten better in all phases.
That loss to Michigan last year may have helped Ohio State win the championship because they went to an identity, they stuck with that identity. Now they got to face the number 2 team in the nation, 1 versus 2, a great offense in Indianapolis, the final 2 teams that are undefeated on the season for the Big Ten championship in Indianapolis, Ohio State, Indiana. Our coverage begins at 6:30 Eastern on Fox. The Heisman Trophy could be on the line in that game as well with Sand and Mendoza. All right. Let's talk about this, man. Ohio State, Indiana. This is by far, Michigan's offense is, Washington had a really good offense, but this by far will be the best offense that this Ohio State defense is seeing all season. How do you like this matchup? What do you like about this matchup and why?
I like Ohio State. I mean, I just do. I'm not really jumping up and down about all these conference championships, if there's going to be rematches and some of this kind of stuff. I like to just settle it in the playoffs. I actually like this one. I want to see Indiana playing Ohio State. I mean, we're talking these 2 elite teams. But when I look at Indiana's schedule, it just, they've done a nice job when we went to Oregon, got that win. Everything else was kind of like not that hard. The schedule wasn't that great. So now I think both sides are going to be really, really challenged. And Ohio State, to me, is just showing no weakness whatsoever. I think
they're in the top 5, I believe top 5 or top 10 at least in offense and defense when it comes to offense. So
I think it's going into even the championship game, thinking playoffs. It is Ohio State clearly won, and everybody else, I don't know.
Wow, you were just completely throwing away the Ducks game. I give the Hoosiers a lot of credit. They went to Autzen. They sacked him 6 times. They sacked Dante Moore 6 times. He'd only gotten sacked once for the 5 games before that. They're good on both sides of the ball. Do not underestimate Curt Cignetti.
I agree. That's a heck of a win. But other than that, it's just...
They destroyed Illinois. They destroyed Illinois. They beat Oregon. They had adversity against Penn State, 1 versus 2, and the losers game should not drop out of the top 4.
I don't think they will.
So they both should get a bye in the first round of the playoffs. We'll see what happens there. The game is on Fox. Meanwhile, the Big 12 championship game has Texas Tech taking on BYU. Texas Tech trying to finish the season strong against West Virginia, and Barrett Morton looking sharp.
He always looks sharp, I feel like. Every time he's been healthy this season, he's looked really good.
And Cameron Dickey there, then Barrett Morton. Down the middle to Caleb Douglas, 19-yard touchdown. All Tech rolling this game, not overlooking anybody. Morton undefeated as the starting quarterback this year. The Douglas 4-yard touchdown. Oh, Tech. Style points matter, too. They're trying to get into the top 4, of course, with Texas A&M's loss. So 49-0 winners right there. Miami, they could be the hard luck team this year. I mean, they look good this season. Only 2 losses. They beat Notre Dame, but they could be out of the ACC championship game and out of the playoffs.
I think the ACC championship is going to be harder for them to get into than honestly it would be for the playoff. I think they will revisit head-to-head of Miami Notre Dame. They're probably going to be closer in here, and I don't, they beat Pitt at Pitt worse than Notre Dame did. It's petty that you have to do these kind of things, but they do have the head-to-head over Notre Dame.
And that is Pitt, of course. They might move up a little bit in the polls. We'll see other teams fall. We'll see what happens. That's going to do it for us in the studio. We'll get you back out for second half action right after this.
Darius Taylor's 49-yard touchdown run is the big play of the day so far. Minnesota up 10-7. Robert and I will break it down next. The battle for Paul Bunyan's axe on the last day of the regular season, and it has been a fight between Wisconsin and Minnesota in a 3-point game at the break. Hello, everyone. We welcome you back to Minneapolis. Robert Smith, Noah Reed back with you. Rivalry football game, last day of the regular season, 10-7 game on a snow-covered field. This second half is about to be a lot of fun.
Oh, it is going to be a lot of fun. And, of course, the Badgers, they go down and score right before halftime. They insert Hunter Simmons in at the quarterback spot, which they had done against Illinois a week ago, comes up with the big pass. And then, of course, Akers coming up with that big catch for the touchdown. That body control, just incredible on that play. And they're going to get an opportunity here in the second half to either tie it, take the lead on this drive. I'm excited to see this one, man. This rivalry football doesn't get any better than this. Games like this, conditions like this is just the best.
That was a phenomenal catch in great conditions, by the way. Toe tapping the sideline, getting a foot in for the touchdown by Aker right before halftime, let alone in this kind of elements. Wisconsin got the score with 21 seconds before halftime to make it a three-point game. They now get the football to start the third quarter as well.
Minnesota fans getting crunk. See that?
That's awesome.
That's Minnesota crunk.
A return from the 5. This is Giacomelli on the return. He's out just past the 25. So Wisconsin, with 21 seconds before halftime, got the touchdown. And Hunter Simmons, the backup quarterback, is in the game to begin this third quarter. He was responsible for that 67-yard pass to set up the touchdown right before the break. And now they bring out the redshirt senior to lead the way in the third quarter.
You know, I really like this call going with Simmons, because when Carter Smith was in there, yes, he gives you the opportunity to run, but just a couple missed opportunities down the field that Carter Smith wasn't able to connect on in that first half.
It's held on to by Simmons. He can do a little bit of running himself. Picks up 4 on the opening play.
You know, we talk about the difficulty in playing in conditions like this if you're a defender, and it's an age-old adage about the offensive players knowing where they're going, the defensive players not, and they're reacting to what the offensive players are doing. And when a quarterback like Hunter Simmons takes off, he may not be the runner that Carter Smith is, but it's just hard for those guys to get their footing and react to make the play.
Second down. Simmons to throw. Has the protection. Fires down the seam into double coverage. That was nearly intercepted by Coy Parrish, looking for Vinny Anthony downfield.
Well, I really didn't understand the combination of the routes. Yes, you want to take a shot downfield. I guess he just figured you're going to try and give a guy a chance, but it really didn't see much underneath as options for Simmons to check down on that one. And you called it, partner. You want to get your ball downfield, but I don't know if double coverage there is the best option.
Parrish in this defense trying to force a 3-and-out to begin the third quarter. Third and 6. Simmons scans right, delivers over the middle. Vinny Anthony on a second effort crawls across the line to gain. It moves the chains.
Boy, you called it, partner. Anthony checks up on this hitch just a little bit before the yard marker. But with that second effort, and you see him checking out where Williams was, senior linebacker from Dublin, Ohio. He took a peek there to see where he was, so when he caught that ball, he knew how to turn to get that first down.
86 yards now on the day on 3 catches for Anthony. He had the big 67-yarder right before halftime. Simmons batted and intercepted. Minnesota's got it. Starting at the plus 43, it's John Nestor.
Maverick Baranowski gets his fingertips on the football. We saw a big stop earlier in that first half. Eyes on Simmons this time. Tips the ball, and it's intercepted.
4th interception of the season for Nestor, and Minnesota's got it with great starting field position. All-State Good Hands moment, celebrating 20 years of the All-State Good Hands Nets program, and good hands by both Maverick Baranowski on the deflection and John Nestor with the interception.
Well, yeah, Nestor's 4th interception of the year, and we talked about Baranowski. Like, are you serious? Maverick Baranowski.
All name team.
That's all name team. That's the best name in football I've heard since Weston Steelhammer. It was an Air Force player, but nice job on the tip, just reading the eyes of Hunter Simmons, and Nestor there to corral that ball.
Minnesota also has Ashton Beers, the center. I think that's all name team as well. 3rd time the Gophers start in Wisconsin territory today, but it's only resulted in 3 total points. Play action, Lindsey rolling right, scans with a ton of protection, throws it behind his receiver, Brockington, who could not pull it in.
A really nice job at the back end of that Wisconsin defense, and Mike Tressel, defensive coordinator, had those guys dialed in.
Had been 8 straight completions for Drake Lindsey leading up to that last pass. He's got his team up a field goal, trying to make it 4 wins in the last 5 games against Wisconsin.
Which is pretty incredible considering they had lost 14 in a row at one point.
From 04 through 2017. Taylor bouncing right side. Wisconsin's defense is stout again up front. With the exception of one explosive run for Taylor today, this Wisconsin defense has been really solid against the run.
Yeah, they really have, and that's really been a hallmark of this team all season long. That defensive line, Peterson, Reiger, Suggs, Barton. Those guys are tough to get movement on. It's such a big defensive front. They do a nice job fighting off blocks.
3rd and 10. Lindsey, flush left, right into a defender. Has to get rid of the football and throws it incomplete. It's 4th and long. Darrell Peterson had the pressure in on Lindsey to force the incompletion.
It was a nice job by Lindsey, kind of keeping his calm, and that's what good quarterbacks do when things are at their worst. Those quarterbacks still at their best. You get a stiff arm on a guy like Peterson, still compose yourself, but rather than try and force the ball and turn that thing back over, wise decision throwing that one away.
So the 3 Gopher drives that have started in Wisconsin territory have only resulted in points 1 time, and that was a field goal. Short punt that bounces near the 20. Early 3rd quarter from Minneapolis. Wisconsin's got the football down a field goal next on FS1. Tomorrow on FS1, a women's college basketball doubleheader begins at 2:30 Eastern as Sarah Strong leads top-ranked UConn against Xavier. Then at 4:30, it's number 14 Tennessee battling Lauren Betts and number 3 UCLA. That's all right here on FS1. The snow has not let up all day today in Minneapolis. On a cold day, you got to be bundled up and ready for it, and these fans certainly are.
Then diamond formation in the backfield that time. Eugene Hilton, who's the tip of that diamond, now lined up on the left side of the formation out here.
It's Hunter Simmons, still the backup quarterback, in for his 2nd consecutive drive. Handoff, Jackson Aker, who had the touchdown catch right before halftime, gets a 2nd push for about 2, maybe 3 yards to open the drive.
Devin Eastern right here in Shakopee, or at least not too far away. You know, a guy that grew up knowing about this rivalry and how special it is. But you're right, it was a nice job breaking through the tackle that time, and this Minnesota defense playing an opponent's backfield so often this season.
Top 10 in the country in tackles for loss and sacks. Fake the handoff. Simmons rolling right, delivers a pass. It's caught. And right near the marker, about a yard shy. It's Tucker Ashcraft, the tight end.
Jackson Aker coming into the game. We saw that incredible touchdown catch that he had, tapping his toes in the end zone. But really can do everything. Line up as a fullback as he is right now, as a true tight end, such a versatile player. I think they hand it to him.
They do. Great call. Leaping forward, he's got the first down. Right on the money, Robert. Let's go.
One time out of 50, I was right.
Nobody needs to know that. You're 1 for 1.
Love seeing that old-fashioned I formation football, and it's what Wisconsin's been known for so long. Producing great offensive linemen and so many great backs over the years. But I think the wrinkle Jeff Grimes has really brought to this offense, you'll see a lot of trade shift motion like you see right here, changing up looks and getting defenses off balance.
High snap, Simmons play action, Parrish with the pressure, delivers a strike, it's caught, Lance Mason, the tight end, tumbling down near the 45, and that's enough for a first down.
Boy, and Danny Collins, the defensive coordinator, said it was really going to be about eye discipline. You're going to see Mason sneak out of the backfield and get that gain for the first down. And we just talked about this, Jeff Grimes, he moves people around so much and gives defenses so much to think about pre-snap and then post-snap, trying to figure out what your assignment is, what your keys are, and a lot of false reads, false keys, trying to get defenders looking the wrong way.
Fake the handoff, screen pass. It's Anthony with a block in front of him, and he gets twisted down to the ground across midfield for 6.
And Riley Mahlman, number 71, the left tackle, able to get out in front of that one. Riley's from Lakeville, Minnesota. I know that because one of the people in Vikings administration, Tom West, said I went to school. Tom West said he went to school with Riley's father, Jason, at St. Cloud. So one of the defectors went to the other side in the battle.
Oh, high snap again. Simmons just corrals it off a deflection, lets it rip. Oh, pass is caught. Lance Mason again. Hunter Simmons. What a play from the quarterback to keep that ball up.
Perfectly layered ball here from Hunter Simmons over Coy Parrish. You're going to watch Parrish elevates, gets the hand up, just not able to get it there. Tremendous throw, and this is why Hunter Simmons is in the game. Make throws like that.
Leading receiver for Wisconsin this season, makes back-to-back catches. That one goes for 26 on a ball that just cleared the leap of Coy Parrish. Fake, it's an end around. Kekahuna's dropped in the backfield. John Nestor, he's been everywhere tonight.
The discipline of John Nestor on the backside. Forget about the eye candy. I know what my responsibility is. I need to stay home and make that play and finish, most importantly. Not always the easiest thing to do in these kind of conditions. Just wrap and make the play. We've seen interceptions. We've seen tackles for loss. We've seen them in the box on runs.
Fumble
staying
recovery.
Home, discipline play. Thank you, partner. Forgot about that one.
Second and long. Give. Dupree. And he's just clipped down at the 20 by Parrish.
And we talk about Parrish again, man. Talk about down in the box. You know, you'll see safeties down making the plays on the edge, you know, outside of tackle box from time to time. Parrish, you know, right up the gut. He's lined up in there, coming down from that safety spot. You can see why he's been such a productive player, just absolutely fearless.
Big impact in defense and special teams, a little bit of offense too. Third down, Simmons with protection, and it's intercepted. John Nestor's second pick of the day. Foot race down the sideline to the 20 before he's dropped. John Nestor has been spectacular today.
Really just a poor decisions here by Hunter Simmons. Not to take anything away from Nestor. Nestor was just in great position, great coverage here. Right on the hip of Kekahuna. And Simmons throws it behind and right into the arms of the waiting Nestor, who's more than happy for the gift-wrapped interception.
Third Wisconsin turnover today, and John Nestor has been involved in all 3 of them. 2 picks and a fumble recovery.
He's in there trying to fan him down, cool him down a little bit.
I think the weather can do that just fine.
Oh, man. That's just awesome. You know, to be able to do something like that in the rivalry games, there's just nothing like it.
5 on the season now for John Nestor. He missed last week, and what a glaring miss that was. Lindsey rolling right, fires back left, completes a pass on the sideline, and it's Jamison Gears who slips one before he goes out of bounds. This is the 4th drive for Minnesota that started in Wisconsin territory, Robert. They've only come away with 3 total points. This feels like a drive after that big momentum swing on the interception where you got to get 7 here, right?
Well, I'd like to say yes, you're supposed to, but I'm sure they'd be happy with any kind of points.
Yeah.
You want to be able to end the drive successfully, especially in the red zone with some points.
And the football off, Darius Taylor. He's got a touchdown earlier today, picks up just 1 yard.
Well, we saw earlier in the game, we saw this Badger defense. Quick change, the missed field goal. Didn't give up any points on that turnover earlier in the game. And these guys really have been the lifeblood of this team that has struggled so much offensively this season. And these guys, like, you just watch them on film, especially over the last few weeks. They're just playing with their hair on fire, just absolutely physical and relentless.
3rd and 7. Lindsey floats it back in the end zone, caught Jamison Gears. Touchdown Gophers, and a snow angel to celebrate.
Jamison Gears gonna sneak behind the linebackers and between the safeties. You're gonna see him come right here in the middle of the field. Nobody picks him up. Safety doesn't react in time. Lindsey maybe put a little bit too much air on it, but that's okay. Gears gets the touchdown and the snow angel. That's a Minnesota style celebration right there.
So is that. I love that.
They're shotgunning Dr. Peppers.
That is Jamison Gears after the touchdown catch. That's down on the ground too for the Gophers. After his 13-yard touchdown catch to make it a 2-score game again. Man, something happened after that celebration where he holds onto that left knee. Man.
Yeah, hard to say what that is. You know, you just don't want to speculate. Just know sometimes you get the adrenaline flowing, especially after a touchdown, not really thinking about what's happened, and then kind of feel a twinge. He's getting a little bit of help off the field, but he's putting weight on that thing. It's a good sign.
His quarterback, Drake Lindsey, talking to him as well.
Of course, Lindsey's grandfather was a fullback for the Vikings back in the late 60s.
Brady Denneberg, the point after, 10-point lead. Minnesota turns the defense into offense. John Nestor's second pick today results in a Jamison Gears touchdown catch. Weekdays on FS1, sharp minds talking everything that matters. Wake up, Barstool, The Herd, and first things first. It's sports talk that never lets up. Weekdays on FS1. A 25-degree snowy day and dressing for the weather. Sometimes that means a winter coat, hats, and gloves. Sometimes that just means dressing like a polar bear or a tiger.
I think if I was a Wolverine, we got a gopher. You would think I spent 8 years. I lived up here for 8 years, and I did not bring a real coat. And we walked over here. You know, sometimes it's 22 degrees. It's not real Minnesota cold. Like, I think I'm still Minnesota ready for, you know, this type of weather, but I'm not.
Dallas has worn off on you, apparently. Wisconsin down 10 after the touchdown from Jamison Gears, and this is Cade Giacomelli on the return across the 30. Well, Wisconsin has had more success moving the football, but it's back-to-back drives in this third quarter that have resulted in interceptions, and that most recently led to 7 points for Minnesota.
Well, they're still going to go with Hunter Simmons at quarterback, though, they feel, especially now in a situation when you're down. Feel you're going to need to throw the football, and I believe that he provides a better option that way. And, you know, for those that weren't around and earlier in the first half, Carter Smith had some opportunities to make some connections downfield and just wasn't able to make them. But Hunter Simmons has got to make better decisions.
7 interceptions in 5 games played now for Simmons after the 2 today. Gives the football to Aker, who gets a nice block. And Aker with a powerful run down to the 45. He picks up 12 to move the chains.
No panic in this team. We'll go old school. Lance Mason in the backfield, little cutoff on the backside. And use that offensive line, be physical, get downhill.
Aker is more of a tight end / fullback now, but he came into Wisconsin as a running back. So he has those natural abilities to run the football, and they use him in a bunch of different ways. On first down, it's Dupree, and he is slammed to the ground after no gain. Baranowski with the stop.
We talked about Jeff Grimes and what kind of offensive coordinator he is. He likes to change up those pre-snap looks, likes to go with the trade, shift motion, get tight ends, get receivers on one side of the formation, move them to the other. This isn't a true play action type look, but play action may be the call here soon.
Simmons gives the football off to Dupree, and Dupree runs into the official, spins away, and stays on his feet down to the 35. What a run, 20 yards.
Well, a little bit of everything. Little spin move, and you called it, partner. Just kind of bouncing off the official, little pinball move here. Boink, just give him a little elbow to the side. They always tell you to spin on contact as a running back, and you can see why. Makes it hard for them to grab you, get an extra 3-4 yards out of that run. Nice job protecting the ball at the end.
Yeah, Jeff Grimes said he's all about those dirty yards. He'll get you 2 or 3 extra, but he got about 10 extra on that one. End around on the Jets, sweep and swung to the ground. Tyrell Henry had no space. That Minnesota defense played it perfectly.
Yeah, and Carter Menz, redshirt sophomore on a Horace, North Dakota. Look at that. Nice and disciplined on the backside of it. He's feeling it. That's excitement. He knows a little bit about that rivalry, being from North Dakota.
His defensive coordinator, Danny Collins, said they are so excited about him and what he can become in the future. Took a big step this year, thinks he can take another. Second and long. Here's the play action you talked about. Simmons with a lot of time, zips it to the near sideline, and it's caught by Tucker Ashcraft. Gets a few of those yards back, but it is 3rd and long.
And again, it's so easy to see these things from up in the booth, but I want you to watch right at the top of the screen here. Anthony, he has this kind of space. I'm getting the ball into his hands. And I know that, you know, with these pure progressions that'll start on one side and move to the other, it's hard to get your eyes back to the other side of the formation. But with all that space with Anthony, you got to at least check as a QB.
On 3rd and long, hand the football off to Dupree, who spins out of a tackle, and a stop made by John Nestor. Who else would it be?
Well, I think they are going to try and field goal here.
That's going to be close to a 50-yarder. Or is it the punt unit? Yeah, that makes a lot more sense.
I'm going to try and pin him.
Bertram's to punt. They use him in these short yardage situations, and it worked to perfection. Touched up at the 2, and that's where Minnesota will take over. Right before the end of the 3rd quarter, it's a 10-point lead for the Gophers. Perfect weather for the battle for Paul Bunyan's axe, just as they want it to be. Wisconsin and Minnesota near the end of the 3rd quarter, and the Gophers with a 10-point lead and the football, but Wisconsin was able to pin them back to their own 1. So an opportunity here for the Badgers defense to come away with a big stop. And who knows, potentially at 2 points.
They always talk about playing complementary football. Want to have all 3 phases in sync. Tremendous job, partners. You called it. Pinning this Gopher offense. QB sneak.
Instead, it's a handoff. Taylor, a bit of breathing room. Picked up a yard or 2. A bit more space.
And you can see Tony Nelson right in the middle of that from Tracy, Minnesota, who got the freshman, or got the start today. It's the redshirt junior. And we're talking about how excited he was, being from Minnesota, really understanding, what this rivalry is about. That's his first start of this season.
He and the Gophers are headed to a 4th quarter 2-possession lead here in the snow from Minneapolis. Battle for Paul Bunyan's axe is coming down to the wire again. What a day for Nestor with 2 interceptions and a fumble recovery. Been great on defense, and his Gophers lead by 10. The most played and longest ongoing rivalry in college football. 135th all-time meeting, the 119th straight year that they've played this rivalry. The battle for Paul Bunyan's axe, and Gophers fans hoping that they hold on to it one more year so they can go look at it just off Dan Patch Avenue at the 2026 State Fair next season.
I got to get my hands on that thing at some point.
That's scary.
It's just a cool trophy.
Backed up against their own goal line. It's a handoff to Darius Taylor, bouncing off of a tackler, and a push down to the 6-yard line. It is 3rd and about 5 coming up for Minnesota. The ball came out, but said that he was ruled down just before. Stays 3rd down.
They get another shot at Posa, the true freshman linebacker, part of that duo of excellent true freshman linebackers with Catalano. Big 3rd down here. All kinds of space.
Lindsey to throw from his own end zone, drops it off on a check down to Bibber, who's planted immediately, and it's 4th down.
He's going to go underneath to his tight end. And this Badger defense, Posa, once again, watch this space on the outside to Brockington, who I had pointed out before the play. Sometimes you just want to make those quick decisions, and he's lined up here for the punt.
Does boot it away. And a nice one, too, has Tyrell Henry retreating back. He lets it hop out of bounds. Still pretty solid field position for Wisconsin, just outside of their own 45 after a 48-yard punt.
That's a pretty good punt, though, in these conditions.
Yeah, no doubt.
Be in that situation. Obviously, we've seen this Badger offense struggle here in the second half with the turnovers. And Minnesota defense, as it's done all season long, playing in opponents' backfields. Only one game on the season they've not had at least 5 tackles for loss, and time again, it's been number 17, John Nestor. Fumble recovery, the interception, return there. We've seen him make so many big plays today.
4 tackles for loss today for this Minnesota defense, but as Robert just said, it's been more about the turnovers. 2 interceptions and a fumble today. Dupree with the carry, 3 yards, and Baranowski, the linebacker, comes in to make the hit. Danny Collins, his defensive coordinator, said that kid plays with his hair on fire. He is flying all over the field. He may start near one sideline, he'll finish at the other, just plays so hard.
You would expect nothing different from a guy named Maverick Baranowski. Again, probably the most perfect linebacker name that you could ever have.
Second and 7. Dupree spinning away from one, but he got stacked up right at the line of scrimmage.
It was Jalen Logan Redding initially made him turn back. Watch the move that Redding is just out of frame here, but he gets free. And he forces Dupree to cut that thing back into the help. And that's something Danny Collins, defensive coordinator, talked about, learning the capabilities of these individual players and having them execute techniques like that, getting that penetration.
On a 3rd and 7, Simmons wanting to throw, scans right the whole way, and it is incomplete. Wanted Kekahuna, but it's 4th down.
Boy, it just looks like it's more missed opportunities. We saw it in the first half with Carter Smith. And here, Vinny Anthony is going to be open in this area, getting a high-low on the safety. And again, we talked about the difficulty of defenders and the breaks that they can get on footballs. If you throw that thing as soon as he comes open, that's 1st down.
Sean West has to punt it away, the 5th today for the Badgers. It takes a bounce and stops at the 18. Minnesota football up 2 scores with 11:47 to go, trying to hold on to the Axe. Final 11:47 to go in the battle for Paul Bunyan's Axe, with Minnesota up 17-7. You said this to me 3 or 4 weeks ago, Robert. You said it again earlier tonight, but the battle for Paul Bunyan's Axe is by far your favorite trophy game.
Yeah, it really is. You know, the idea that you can get arrested for carrying that thing around the airport, I don't know, there's something that's pretty funny, but old brass spittoon, I'm sorry, that was just nasty. But, you know, just the tradition in college football just separates. Even in this era with all the changes, NIL and everything, tradition is still special.
Lindsey to throw on a crossing route. It's caught by Brockington. Spins away from a tackler, and he's across the 35 for a big play on the first play of the drive of 19 yards.
And Greg Harbaugh, the offensive coordinator for Minnesota, he talked about the development of Drake Lindsey and just how calm and poised he is and how well he sees the field. Nice and tall in the pocket, smooth delivery. He's making big strides.
Called him an elite studier. He said that kid is in the building nonstop, watching film, doing whatever he can to get better. Looks to throw here on the check down to Taylor, who's planted at the 40 for 3 yards.
Yeah, he said part of the reason is he's got all online courses, right? It's like he's in the building all the time, even when he's taking his classes. But, you know, they said that he's running the wide receiver meetings. He's taken all of those big steps. And as a quarterback, not just a leader of the offense, but really sees his role as a leader over the whole team. And again, we talk about Max Brosmer Former Gopher quarterback is going to be getting his first start for the Vikings this week against the former quarterback for the Vikings, Sam Darnold. Drake Lindsay learned a lot from him.
Hands the football off to Ejeboy, bouncing left side, and Ejeboy carries the defense with him just shy of midfield to move the chains.
Boy, I love this cut by Ejeboy. You make those cuts late. This is what they call pressing the line of scrimmage. Watch how he gets all the way up before he makes this cut to the backside. It forces those linebackers to think he's going to stay front side, and he covers all that ground. And that's tough to do in these kind of conditions, to cover that kind of lateral ground with a cut without slipping the force that you need to do that. That's elite, as PJ Fleck would say.
Yeah, you beat me to it. I was going to say, with the snow and the slippery conditions, to be able to do that is impressive from Ejeboy. They'll hand it off to him one more time, and Ejeboy is ripped to the ground across midfield by Mason Posta, the linebacker, with back-to-back stops.
You know, and they talk about the way that plays are designed. You've got runs, you've got counters off of those runs, and then you have that play action, and that's an element we may see here, because the Badger defense is reeling just a little bit. You get into those heavy run sets, especially when you've got Bierman, your tight end, in the game, go heavy play action and get a shot downfield.
It's a second down give to Taylor after he spent the last couple plays on the bench, and he picks up just a yard before Parker Peterson is there for Wisconsin.
Well, we haven't really heard much from Jalen Smith today. He's on the field for this third down. Doesn't have any reception. Well, he has one reception.
It's a 3rd and 6. Lindsey to his tight end, Gears. And Gears is stacked up about 2, maybe 3 yards shy of the marker.
I think they're going to go for this one. At least line up like they're going to go for it. Try him off sides. Nope. Here comes punt team.
Punt unit trotting out on the field. Lindsey coming off the field.
We hear some boos raining down.
I kind of like this call, though. I mean, you got the opportunity to pin them back inside their own 10 or 5, potentially up 2 scores. Maybe not. I don't know.
Remember, I'm in the press box. I feel much more comfortable making the call to go for it.
Tyrell Henry lets it bounce, and it goes out of bounds near that 10-yard line. There is a flag to check on.
Looks like that's going to be on Wisconsin.
Illegal formation. Portland 4 in the backfield on the kicking team. 5-yard penalty from the previous spot. 4th down.
Pointing in the other way when they were in their little huddle. Definitely want to make them kick it again.
The first penalty of the day against PJ Fleck's Gophers, coming with 7:14 to go in the game. Like you said, punt unit has to come back out.
Well, yeah, you know, you go 4th and less than 5 in that area of the field, you go with a punt safe, so you have your defensive personnel on the field, and now back them up 5 yards. Guys are a little bit tired. They had to run downfield. You get your rush unit on, try and go for the block.
Tom Weston to punt it away. There's a little bit of a shorter punt, and Henry calls for the fair catch around the 12. Badgers got to make something happen. Down 2 scores with 7:08 to go. John Nestor's had himself a day for this Gophers defense, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I would say, partner. Look at that form on the tackle right there. The tip from Baranowski that he brings in for the interception. Tackles for loss. Gets an interception himself. Almost takes it back for 6. It's a pretty good day.
2 interceptions, fumble recovery, couple tackles for loss. What hasn't John Nestor done today in his return to the lineup after missing the Northwestern game a week ago? He and the defense will try to keep the axe here in Minneapolis for a 4th time in the last 5 years. Up 2 scores, Hunter Simmons and Wisconsin pinned back at their own 11 to start the drive. Fakes the handoff. Simmons pumps, now takes the check down. It's caught. Eugene Hilton, the son of longtime Indianapolis Colts wide receiver T.Y. Hilton's first grab.
But he's a heck of a player, and you could see Hunter Simmons with the pump there. He was trying to go down the field to Vinny Anthony, but good coverage on the back end. And what do you think was in coverage back there?
I get one guess?
You got one guess.
All right, John Nestor.
That's the guy that was in coverage there, partner.
Man, I got it.
See more of this trade shift motion. Watch for some misdirection here. Play action.
His play action caught by Anthony. Oh, he dropped it. Pulled it in, but the hit applied by who else? Your turn to guess.
Yeah, John Nestor. And that hit came in a little bit early. Incompletion would have been much of a gain anyway. And these guys knew coming into this when Danny Collins, defensive coordinator, they knew what Jeff Grimes, the offensive coordinator for Wisconsin, likes to do. Likes a lot of eye candy, likes to get your eyes in the wrong place. But they've been disciplined for the most part on the back sides of those plays.
3rd and 5. Simmons surveys, has protection, now tucks the football and runs, and he takes a hit near the 21 by Maverick Baranowski, and he is just short.
Now you're at the point in the game, got to start thinking about time. Down 10. They go with the substitution. Minnesota, of course, allowed to substitute as well.
Fourth and 1. Aker and Dupree in the backfield. Play clock under 5.
They're not going to do it.
They do snap it. Dupree first down and still up and finally swung to the ground near the 27. Move the chains, and this game is still alive for the Badgers.
Oh, the little jump cut by Dupree here to the outside. Love to see this. Get up into the line of scrimmage, get to the outside, and get vertical as soon as you can. Nice physical finish to the run, picking up the first down. You know, I thought, you see so many times the quarterbacks, they do those exaggerated signals. They go up to the line of scrimmage, act like they're all excited, especially when it gets under 5 seconds. And they're just trying to draw that defense off. But with the limited number of possessions and down 10, they figured they needed to go on 4th.
Simmons stepping up, eluding pressure. Takes it himself, and he runs out of bounds after a nice gain of about 7 yards.
We just don't have that much time.
No.
To get this done before 2-minute timeout, unlike the NFL. 2-minute warning. We get our 2-minute timeout here in college football.
You were right when you said Wisconsin doesn't have a lot of time here, but huddling up there, they're taking a lot of time off the play clock here. Simmons to throw on 2nd down, zips it over the middle to Brooks. Bouncing off one tackler, and he gets pushed across midfield down to the 47. He picks up 18 and a first down.
Boy, an impressive throw here from Simmons. Nice and poised in the pocket, gets the top of his drop. pulls the trigger, and you wonder how many first-team reps he even had this week.
They go quickly on the pace, and that pass is caught. What a grab by Lance Mason, the tight end, laying out for the football.
Boy, you don't see tight ends go down and make catches like that too much, especially in these conditions.
Second and short. Simmons wisely gets rid of the football. Clock stops with 3:24 to go. It's 3rd and 1. P.J. Fleck wanting an intentional grounding there. Oh, and they do throw the flag late.
Intentional grounding, offense number 15. The ball will be placed at the spot of the foul. It includes a loss of down, 3rd down.
That hurts.
Well, the keys here, throwing it from inside the pocket. Gets past the line of scrimmage, but saying no receiver in the area, and if you're inside the pocket, even if it gets past the line of scrimmage, has to be a receiver in the area. And that's a little subjective there sometimes, but I think a good call.
Well, 3rd and 1 becomes a 3rd and 12 here for Simmons in Wisconsin. Right before the snap, play is blown dead. I don't think anybody on the field knows it. Ooh. So that play is blown dead. The sack will not be upheld there.
Yeah, be careful here. Don't get any dumb penalties after the play. You're already backed up so much. The emotions run high in these rivalry games, but the officials blew the whistle, and defensive.
Prior to the ball being snapped, timeout, Minnesota, their first of the half. It will be 36. Timeout on the field.
Minnesota gets the timeout and a free shot on Hunter Simmons there, as the Badger fans would say.
3:24 to go. Wisconsin running out of time here in Minneapolis. 21 degrees in snow. Forget about a coat. Sometimes you don't even need a shirt, apparently.
Yeah, you had that look going earlier, didn't you?
I sure did.
Guess you probably had a few beverages that they're serving as antifreeze.
Battle for the axe here in Minneapolis, and Minnesota is 3:24 away from retaining it for yet another year. Caught. Kakahuna dropped immediately after he pulled it in by Gooseby.
Woo. That leaves you in a tough 4th down spot right there. That's one of those all or nothing plays, because if the defense reacts up on that one, you've got a long way to go. And you're better off just going for a chunk of that one instead of trying to get an all or nothing play like a screen to the outside.
The defense was about 30 yards downfield celebrating, and they realized
out Minnesota, their second of the half.
That it was 4th down.
And that it was
seconds in length.
4th down, and that Wisconsin was going to pick up the pace down 2 scores and 3 minutes to go. They had to sprint all the way back, and Gophers end up needing to take a timeout before they were set. #135th all-time meeting between these two rivals, the most played FBS rivalry in the series, tied 63-63 and 8 ties.
Yeah, and so many times games come down to turnovers, and being -3 in the turnover ratio here with Wisconsin, you know, that's one of the first things that you learn in football. Somewhere around 5% to win games when you're -3 in the turnover ratio, and just so much to overcome. And there's some issues with the play calling. Well, maybe not the play calling, maybe some of the clock management. I thought they've kind of put themselves behind the 8 ball here a little bit with their clock management, but as it is, 4th and 11, all or nothing.
Need this here. Simmons on 4th and 11. Has time, fires. Oh, big collision inside the 30, and it's incomplete.
Aiden Gooseby. I mean, that's about as hard but clean hit as you'll see in today's game, and he times this up perfectly.
Oh my goodness.
Well, that's close. That's close. Right in the head. You know, they'll probably get a review for targeting on that, but looked clean initially to me. Can't be, you know, it's going to be a defenseless receiver. Can't be a hit to the head or neck area. And as nasty as it looks, I guess we're going to see if there'll be a review. Nothing so far.
Yeah,
called down.
Like it. Minnesota takes over up 10 with 2:52 to go. Wisconsin does have all 3 timeouts left and the 2-minute timeout. Give to Darius Taylor. Oh, look at that powerful run. Carries a defender with him down to the 44. He picks up about 8.
Well, you got to use a timeout north of the 2-minute timeout. Just burning time.
Now Minnesota can run this all the way down to the 2-minute timeout. They do not have to snap the football. Oh, excuse me, they do. It's about 4 seconds shy. Do give to Taylor. Lowers the shoulder. He's got the first down. Little chippiness between these two rivals. The battle for Paul Bunyan's axe with Minnesota up 10 and the football with 2 minutes to go on FS1.
The lights are turned way down low. Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow.
That's a look at Tim Burke, or Berkey as we call him, weathering the elements down there in the snow, and it gives us an opportunity to thank our wonderful crew. This is our final game of the regular season, led by producer Brad Weimer, director Brian Biederman, our technical director TJ Toyozaki, and the rest of this awesome crew that you see on the list there. Week in and week out, they put in long hours, time away from home, a lot of hard work to be able to make the shows look and sound as good as they do. Cannot thank you enough. We really appreciate the incredible work that you have done since late August in week 1 all the way till now in week 14 of the college football season. Darius Taylor, patient run behind that offensive line. He picks up 1, and Wisconsin will use the first of their 3 remaining timeouts.
Charge timeout, Wisconsin, their first of the half. It will be 30 seconds in length.
Boy, and really, we talked about this Wisconsin team beating 2 ranked opponents in their previous 3 contests, one against Washington, who was ranked at the time, and of course Illinois, that was ranked at the time. Started to get some things figured out, but turnovers so difficult to overcome, especially when that turnover ratio, as I said before, being -3 in the turnover ratio, can't win many ball games that way. And they felt that they needed to make the change, and I agreed with the change. I thought that they might make it. At the end of that first half, we saw Simmons come in, make a big completion, and then second half, used him the entire time, and one of the interceptions just kind of tipped, maybe he stared it down a little bit, and the second one threw behind his receiver, pretty much all on him.
This is Darius Taylor again. He's gone over 100 yards for the 3rd time this season. Luke Fickell takes another timeout. With 1:52 to go, trying to force a 4th down and a punt, get the football back, but down 2 scores. It is a giant hill to climb out of.
Well, it's tough. You know, life's not out to get you. It's not out to do you any favors either. And you know, you look around college football, you look around any level of football, and teams in November. You have injuries stacked up in a lot of places. Obviously, we know quarterback's the most important position probably in any sport. And when you have multiple quarterbacks that you have to insert into an offense, it can be difficult to win ball games. And that's what we've seen from this Wisconsin team. 4 different starting quarterbacks. And we talked about, looking around the college football landscape, just aren't many teams that have had to do that. Of course, they go back to a different quarterback today.
3rd and long. They hand the football off to Javon Tracy, the wide receiver. He's across the 30. A first down. And waving goodbye as Javon Tracy says good night for the Gophers.
Well, fitting that they get it done with the run. Gets that little convoy out in front. Little help from his friend Pierce Walsh, tight end on the outside. And that does it with 1 timeout left. First down. Like they did at the beginning of at the end of the first half, they go into this victory formation. But this time it's actually for the win instead of the kill time at the end of the first half.
And PJ Fleck takes the timeout here for Minnesota.
I don't know if that's a senior thing, like you try and get maybe a senior out there. I don't know why you call timeout there.
The 135th all-time meeting, the 77th for the Axe. And for the 4th time in 5 years, Paul Bunyan's Axe will reside in Minneapolis.
Careful carrying that thing around in this snow, I'll tell you that.
It's a weapon. Well, PJ Fleck said you start the year, you've got a freshman quarterback, you're really not sure what you're going to get. It's kind of a hold on tight and let's see what happens. And he said if you would have told me that we had 6 wins and had an opportunity to go for win number 7 to close out the season in the battle for the Axe against Wisconsin, he said I would have taken that. And they will get that win number 7 of the season and stay perfect at home.
And they're running for Paul Bunyan's axe. Goldie's got it. Goldie can't see very well in that costume. You better be careful. Don't swing it, Goldie.
Fourth time in 5 years that Minnesota wins Paul Bunyan's axe. They keep it here in Minneapolis as PJ Fleck and company get it done 17-7 over Wisconsin.
Ooh. When you get a lot of fans running out on the field, you need to be real careful with that thing. Jeez. Everybody wants to try and grab it.
What a scene here in Minneapolis. Fans on the field. Minnesota holds on to the Axe with a 17-7 win over their rival Wisconsin.
It's what it's all about right there, though. It's what makes college football just a little bit different. These programs, kids grow up wanting to play in rivalry games, especially the ones born in Minnesota and Wisconsin, Iowa, really Big Ten country in general. So many of these rivalries define the matchups, and sometimes there's a really cool trophy at the other end of it. Taking the jobs at the goalpost. I just love that part.
A lot of fun this year with your partner.
Yes, sir. Good luck to your Hoosiers another season. Not this one, though.
Big thank you to our producer, Brad Weimer, director, Brian Biederman, rest of our awesome crew, spotter, Zach Hoffner, statistician, Russ DeLynn. It's on to the studio now with Mike Hill and the guys.
Welcome to FS1 College Football Extra, sponsored by Amazon. Everything for every fan on Amazon. Hey there, welcome inside our LA studios. I'm Mike Hill along with Bruce Feldman and Chris Peterson. Let's get you caught up on a huge Week 14 with our Amazon highlights, starting with the game. Ryan Day trying to get that monkey off his back, trying to knock off Michigan. It's lost 4 straight against them, despite winning the national championship last year. And Michigan's defense came to play early on.
They got this big turnover here, and you feel like, all right, things are going well. They got a big run on the first play from scrimmage, then on defense steps up. Feels like maybe this is going to be their day again, right, Coach?
Except for Jeremiah Smith.
And Julian Sand passing the ball to Jeremiah Smith. Of course, Smith, one of the best in the business. They were down 6-0. That was their biggest deficit of the season. That touchdown gave Ohio State a 10-6 lead, and then Sand to Brandon Ennis. They were incredible on 3rd and 4th down in this game. That was a 3rd down conversion again. That made it 17-9, and then in the second half, it was all Ohio State. Sand. Carnell Tate, 50-yard bomb right there. Oh, the monkey off the back. They end that 4-game slide. They get into the Big Ten championship game, 27-9 over their rivals. Rob Stone, the Big Noon Kickoff crew with more.
Well, the 4-game losing streak to the rivals is over, and here inside Michigan Stadium, they are going,
look at
eight.
Oh.
Yeah, the Buckeyes remain unbeaten.
Hey,
Sorry, Charles. Coach, what impressed you about the Buckeyes win today?
Well, first, it's clear it's not 1,000 days or whatever. It's now, 2 minutes?
Yes.
We're
already on the next year,
No, this
baby.
was a thorough beating. It was a 40-minute possession time to 20. They controlled the line of scrimmage. Mark said it. The last 23, now 24 games, whoever wins the line of scrimmage wins. Ohio State has gotten better and better and better since the first day we saw them against Texas. That will be a very difficult team to beat in the next month.
Yeah, I mean, look, they came out and performed. They beat us every which way that they possibly could. For me, it's always a lot of respect, for the guys on the other side. I got a chance to go over and speak to Caleb Downs, who I think is, a tremendous player. Can't wait to see him on the next level. Look, they came and handled business.
Yes, they did.
There's nothing else I can say.
Yes, they do. Look, Ohio State is the most complete team in the country. Defensively, they're tremendous. Offensively, they throw the football. They run the football with their emergence of Bo Jackson. They're going to be a tough team to beat in the Big Ten championship next week, but also in the college football playoff.
I think we learned a lot about Julian Sand, right? First time in this matchup, big stage like this. Struggled early. Those first couple of passes, a little bit concerned. Really responded, came back, and then this defense. I mean, they've allowed, 9 touchdowns so far the entire season? They have been lights out week after week, game after game. Credit to this coach staff and Ryan Day.
The 2 red zone stops early in the game. I think Ohio State was still the far superior team, but that kind of set the tempo for the rest of the game. 2 red zone stops.
So Ryan Day gets that Wolverine off his back. The 4-game losing skid to his rivals is over. Up next, Indiana next Saturday in the Big Ten championship game.
That's right, Rob. Ohio State, of course, started the season 1-2 against Texas. In before the playoffs, 1-2, Ohio State, Indiana, Big Ten championship game. That's next Saturday in Indianapolis. It's on Fox. Our coverage starts at 6:30 Eastern time. So let's look ahead, man. 2 great offenses, 2 great defenses, 1-2. Who do you like and why?
I mean, and both first time Big Ten history that both teams were undefeated playing for this championship.
Yeah.
I mean, and it could decide Heisman Trophy.
Yep.
This is going to be spectacular. I don't know. It just seems like Ohio State is clicking and playing at a high level. I mean, Michigan's defense is really elite. If they had a little bit more offense, I think that things could be a little bit different. but they are getting better each game, it appears. And setbacks, because it's always about these random events, momentum swings, and how you respond to things in these games. And that just doesn't bother Ohio State, especially their redshirt freshman quarterback. He is something special, and he's got special guys around him. And Bruce, the thing that just jumps out to me is the run game for Ohio State's getting better and better. Yeah. This is a tough team to beat right now.
Yeah, Bo Jackson was a question mark. I think the whole run game, especially, look, last year Will Howard could run. They don't want Julian Sand running. I don't think Julian Sand wants running, but they've found a run game. I would pick Ohio State in this game, but I would not be shocked if Indiana beat them. Being at, like, we had Big Noon last year in Columbus when it was the Hoosiers came in there, they were rolling, and they weren't ready for prime time. I think what we've seen from them, and I go back to, it was one game, but it was a statement game when they won at Autzen and did what they did on both sides of the ball. I think they're a much better team. They're better than they were last year. Better on the O-line, deeper group of receivers, and I think they're really good on defense. And then you got Mendoza, who gives them a little more in the run game than what they had last year from the quarterback position. He's playing at such a high level. I think they're good enough to win a national title. I'd still pick Ohio State to win the game, but it wouldn't shock me if they lost.
I think Kurt Cignetti likes it that way. He likes people doubting his team.
And I think a lot of people have been. I was doubting them last year, and it was like, these guys are for real. This year, a little bit of the same. They go into Autzen, knock those guys off. They get behind really late. Oh, the parade's over at Penn State. They come back, get it done. Kind of doubting them again. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, this could decide the Heisman winner. This could decide, obviously, who's going to be the number one seed in the playoffs. But regardless, the loser's still going to be in the playoffs. We'll see what happens there. Meanwhile, Miami needs a lot of help to reach just the ACC title game, but they could also make the playoff if the chips fall right. Taking on Pittsburgh today, needed to make a statement against the number 22 team in the land, and Malachi Toney did it all, Bruce.
He is the best player Miami has. He was a former high school quarterback. He's thrown a couple of touchdowns this year. He's a dynamic receiver. They give him handoffs. Here it's a slick play, and you see him catching a touchdown pass. They blew Pitt off the field. This is the same Pitt team that 2 weeks ago Notre Dame blew off.
See if it's enough to move them up a little bit. Meanwhile, Texas Tech is in the Big 12 title game, trying to finish strong against West Virginia. Did just that. Baron Morton to Caleb Douglas. Great catch by Douglas right there. Juggling, getting the feet in, and 49-0. They roll against West Virginia. They will play BYU in that Big 12 title game. BYU finishing against UCF. Down 14-0 early, but all Cougars after that.
What a strike, boy. Bear stepped into that throw, almost threw it right through him.
Yeah, the freshman Bear Bachmeyer to Parker Kingston. 46-yard touchdown. BYU wins it 41-21. Mountain West Championship matchup Friday night on Fox is going to be determined by computer rankings.
I'd like to determine at least one team in there.
Would that be Boise State?
I'm good with that.
Okay, three-way tie right now between your Boise State team, New Mexico, San Diego State. It'll be a four-way tie if UNLV wins tonight. All right. Coming up, Maryland takes on Michigan State. That's at Ford Field. We'll see you right back here at the half. Enjoy it, everybody.